Well, I've got a real doozy for you today. Um, we recently got kind of like verbally attacked on our Facebook pages, yeah, by a kind of left wing activist, a kind of like anti-Israeli, pro-Palestinian activist. Yeah. Um, well, she turns out to be an activist. Didn't realize that actually. Um, and obviously, we really are not very fond of highly ideological activists, and we find a lot of their causes quite risible and hypocritical, especially when they come out with sort of like you know taking their children to put in the way and stuff, and all sorts of very manipulative things that they tend to do. Um, and so anyway, my fiance had posted something about this, and so then she comes back with a whole load of stuff, yeah, and it's just quite telling, really. Um, I mean, she says that she's she says, she is what you call a lefty, and I'm proud to be, yeah. Um, and I'm saddened by your sudden outburst of right-wing extremist views. Yeah. So not liking the lefty activists and their behavior apparently is right-wing extremism. Yeah. Perhaps it's because you are now in a relationship with Mo, which is me. Yeah. By the way, I've redacted the identities from the clips I'm showing, because I don't want this to be personal. And also, from our point of view, these people are actually rather nasty. And so, no. Yeah, not going to happen. Yeah. Um, but one, perhaps it's because you're in a relationship with Mo. So actually, my fiance, who she was friends with for many years, apparently she has so little respect for him that she thinks that I can simply like pick him up like a small sheep and carry him off to the far right. Yeah, this imaginary far right that's in her head. Yeah, but the other thing is, she puts the word relationship in quotes. And this is the first sign of her actual emotional undertow. It's like your relationship, yeah. So it's like the quotes show that like I'm actually not really taking your you know the relationships of your life seriously. Yeah, you don't fit in my world. I don't see why I should actually acknowledge your relationship. Incidentally, it's a same-sex relationship, in case you hadn't realised. Yeah, um, um, I had suggested that you unfriend me, but I'll save you the trouble. Well, that's very good. She's actually learned how to actually unfriend people herself rather than demand that they do it. That's something. Yeah. I have no time for any supporter of genocide. Goodbye. Yeah. Yeah. Um, but then, I mean, she goes on and on and on, and she calls the Palestinian peoples the real Semites. Yeah. Um, and she talks about their suffering at the hands of the Zionist tribe. Well, that's interesting. Yeah. One word of warning: don't go holding hands and kissing each other if you visit the Zionist state, in quotes, of the tribe of Israel. Read the Hebrew book, in capitals. Leviticus 20:13. If a man lies with a man as with a woman, both of them have committed an abomination. They shall surely be put to death. So please, don't be a pair of hypocrites. And again, you can see the actual emotional undertow is actually real. Like it's actually it is actually really uh, nasty. She's kind of like really hurling things at you, yeah, in a way. But the fact that she can talk this way about the Zionist state, the only state in the region that actually has anything like gay rights, that has gay pride marches and stuff like that, yeah, the only state that has that kind of tolerance in the region, yeah. Um, and she goes on about uh, the Hebrew book, the Old Testament. So she goes on about the Old Testament like this, yeah. while she is at the same time supporting people in a territory ruled by an avowedly Islamist organization. Yeah, no chance of gay rights there, no chance whatsoever, no chance of even of tolerance, to be truthful. Yeah, and and the adherence of a religion which is at this time still in its medieval period, or at least in its, well, it may have gone a bit beyond that at times, yeah, but it is definitely in its medieval period. It never really escaped from that. Yeah, it hasn't. Yeah, so and if anybody can show me how, I mean, apart from the cultural flowerings which have occurred sporadically in things like Sufism, yeah, you know, and these various sort of like things that happened in sort of like, say, in Muslim Spain or what have you, yeah, there are cultural flowerings, yeah, of various things, but this is still an essentially literalist medieval religion, which does not tolerate same-sex relationships, amongst other things, and it's also intrinsically anti-Semitic if you actually look at it. Yeah. And this is this is what she holds up against the Hebrew Bible and the state of Israel, the state of the tribe of Israel. Yeah, this person has real problems, and actually, partly the problems seem to be emotional, and partly the problems seem to be intellectual. Really, but what mainly comes out of it is a kind of like is this knot of negative emotion, basically, a whole load of like propaganda which she's been programmed with and kind of brainwashed with, which she has to repeat and repeat and repeat. And I know this thing, it's like both me and my fiance were leftists at one time. We know how it works, yeah. But even this use of the word genocide is like, with you throwing genocide at Israelis. It's like, oh, I see what you did there, Meanwhile, they support and they wave the flag of a territory which is ruled over by an Islamist organization which wishes to see the elimination of the State of Israel and the elimination of its Jewish population. I don't think there's any way of getting around that. Yeah. So she goes in. So that's okay. That's okay. That's got nothing to do with any kind of genocidal attitudes. Yeah. Oh no, of course not. Of course not. But it's funny because like the anti-gay animosity which comes through her post as well it can't disguise itself. It's like it can barely contain itself, Again, as so often with the ideological left, their primary emotional motivation, when it isn't privilege for themselves, it's revenge, and it's deep, deep resentment. So that was an interesting little interlude. Bit sad, bit pathetic, really. But there you go. Anyway, it happens, doesn't it? Yeah, all a bit silly, really. Don't know what you do really with these people, apart from ignore them, and keep on going, really, because just so ridiculous, so ridiculous. And I think it's sad. And this is again, this was a white woman. I'm assuming, I don't know what her class background is, but it's a white woman. I think pretty comfortably off, probably, And here she is. Vilifying and attacking a same-sex couple, yeah, and going into a whole thing about the Zionist tribe, yeah. So sorry Honey, I think your slip is showing. Yeah.